G'day there guys, it's your Aussie hubby Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Now if you like today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good episode stuff, things, whatever. Thank you. Posted by user ThrowRA89891. Titled, My fiance told me he is tired of hiding who he is from me, and now I'm not sure I want to get married. So my fiance, 26 male, and I, 25 female, have been dating for 3 years. We have known each other for 8 years and just got engaged a year ago. We are also long distance since he is military, so only see each other for maybe 4 to 5 days a month, with the exception of summers when I move wherever he is to stay with him for a month or two. So throughout the last 3 years of the relationship, it became very evident that my fiance, let's call him Dave, held some pretty serious prejudices. For example, he passionately dislikes fat people and would consistently insult strangers and make disparaging jokes about fat people. He prided himself on being an imperialist, proudly called himself a sexist, and didn't talk to women unless it was for relationship purposes, and also said my brother might be treated differently by police because he looks threatening. My brother and I are black. Dave is white. Anyway, I addressed all of these things whenever they came up, and we had multiple conversations in which he decided it was wrong to hold these beliefs. However, after addressing them, he would get extremely upset if I called him out on saying anything slightly prejudicial throughout the relationship, because he would say he doesn't hold those beliefs anymore. Last month, we got into a pretty big argument about why systemic racism is bad. He said it makes the US look bad and it weakens our foreign influence, so therefore it is bad. Whereas I am of the mind that it is bad because black people, including myself, are human beings and deserve to be treated with an equal amount of dignity, respect, and general decentness. This argument escalated, and he started going on a rant of how tired he is of stepping over eggshells around me and how he can never find the right words to make me happy, and that he is tired of hiding who he is around me. This was very shocking, and I tried to probe more on what he was hiding, and basically, he revealed all of the prejudices I thought he had gotten over. He still had, and was just trying to suppress them around me. He mentioned one of the things he's tired of hiding is that he still strongly dislikes fat people and doesn't see a problem with that. But I have suspected that this has been the cause of a lot of his behavior, such as 1. Asking me how much I've eaten every day and what time I ate. Don't eat after 8 p.m. 2. Telling me to drink water all the time. 3. Insulting my friends for gaining weight. 4. Telling his own mother not to eat fatty foods. 5. Asking why some people in my family were fat. And 6. Telling me he doesn't want to get me pregnant because he wants me to be skinny longer. Countless other little things here and there, but whenever I said, "Do you have a problem with fat people still?" he would get defensive and pretend I was imagining it. Again, we are long distance, so I suppose I don't get to see the person he is all of the time. But now that he's told me, I feel like I can't trust him, and he is sucking up because he knows I don't want to do this anymore because it feels like a lie. So we're seeing a friend of his for marriage counseling. I put it in parentheses because the guy is not qualified and talks to Dave outside of sessions all the time, and even brought his own wife to a session. And now, Dave said he's ready to change and leave these prejudices behind, really, this time. I have lost trust and, honestly, have not felt the same about our relationship since that day. Although he's saying that he'll change this time, I'm not sure if he means it, or is just trying to placate me into staying in the relationship, then reverting back whenever he feels like he has me. Plus, I believe these prejudices stem from a lack of empathy and insecurity that reflect in other areas, like the way he reacted to the pandemic. Completely ignored any rules, and felt like he could get me sick too because I'm young, even though I told him I do not want to get sick. I also reminded him that I'm high risk because I have asthma, to which he said, "Ugh, I forgot you're unhealthy." He's consistently putting me down for my genes, and even explicitly said, my genes are superior to yours. Anyways, he said what I wanted to hear in order to make me feel safe enough to move down for the summer, and when I got there late March, he didn't want to take any precautions that we had previously discussed. For example, wearing a mask. He says, I'm not a face mask kind of guy, or having hand sanitizer in the car, and actually argued with me when I insisted and was condescending, calling me mum and rolling his eyes. With all of that said, sorry, I know that's a lot. Does anyone have any advice on what I should do? Run. Yes, the statement, my genes are superior to yours, is enough right there for you to run for the hills. All of the other prejudices should make you run even faster. OP says, just want to defend him slightly on that superior gene statement for more context, but he claims he was referring to athleticism. He has a hyper fascination with physique and always comments on other men's muscles or athleticism. For example, every time he watches a show or movie, he will comment on how the man's physique looks. Don't think it's necessarily a race thing, more of our specific families and his horror about some of my family members being obese and me having asthma. But then again, he did say that his only black friend, who was tall and buff, would breed well 5 years ago. Yikes. Yeah, that was another argument. Guys, I'm really embarrassed about staying in this relationship. The more I think about it, the more I'm disappointed in myself for naively thinking that his continued silence on these things meant he had changed them. Don't be ashamed or disappointed in yourself for being with him. It's not your fault he turns out to be a craphead. There are lessons to be learned, and you'll grow from them. On another note, though, don't defend him. To me, there's a certain limit to what people can say within certain contexts, and I tend to draw the line when people start seeing themselves inherently superior over others. That's a hell of a slippery slope. Sure, he likes male physique and athleticism, and he can be obsessed with that all he wants. He can even grade male physique according to what he thinks is best and rate himself on that scale. But draw the line there. That's all it is, a certain level of athleticism. It doesn't mean being athletic is better than not being athletic. It doesn't mean he has superior genes, and it doesn't make you objectively better in any way. It doesn't mean that this is the grading scale everyone should use to determine people's worth, like he is obviously doing by shaming fat people. It's clear to me he is one of those, I think this is important, so it should be objectively important, and everyone should agree with me, kind of a-holes. I dealt with them, and they're as philosophically inconsistent as they are obnoxious and narcissistic. Honestly, if he can't see how navel-gazy he is being, it sure shows he only cares about his physique and hasn't spent a minute developing his brain as well. People like him are impossible to argue with. If I were you, I'd get the hell away from him. Updates. Firstly, thank you everyone for your inputs. The run comment was pretty brutal, but effective. I broke off the engagement 3 days ago via phone call. I have not figured out how I will return the ring, but thinking by insured mail. The call itself wasn't horrible because I think he was in shock, but a couple of highlights from the call are, I might have lied, fine, but you're a liar too. You lied about loving me. Not trying to guilt trip you, but you've destroyed me. I have nothing now and have no idea what I'm going to do with myself. Are you seeing someone else? You're making a huge mistake. All I wanted was to be a good husband to you, 2x. These comments were hard to hear because my worst fear is that I preemptively cut off a relationship with a man who is going through active change, and who loves me dearly. But at the end of the day, I realized I don't trust that he will change genuinely, and I have no idea how to measure that progress, since he has proved to hide parts of himself around me. He hasn't tried to contact me since I broke things off, and I'm grateful for that. I think it would make everything so much worse. I am grieving such an immense loss, which is hard to communicate, because others see it as a win by leaving an unhealthy relationship. Again, Thanks everyone for the advice. Take the time to grieve and perhaps schedule an appointment with a licensed therapist. You might need to undo some of the work you did with the relationship counselor who clearly didn't have your best interests in mind. Seconded, I hope you see this, OP. Grief is normal and hard, even when you know it's the right move. Please take care of yourself. Big hugs. Third this, and I have broken ties with my own dad, and while that had been toxic to me, people around me were happy that I finally made the decision, etc. I still needed the time to digest it a lot. And it's hard to show any negative emotions on something you're complimented on. For me, it was my own dad I share some traits and DNA with. For you, it's someone you thought you'd spend the rest of your life with. So please do spare enough time to be sad. It is sad. Therapies are for times like this, I think. You need to heal. You did the right thing, but it's traumatic. All of those comments he made to you are all centered around him trying to guilt you, but none of them ask about your well-being and how he could have done better. I know it's hard, but you've made the right decision. I'm proud of you, OP. Exactly. OP didn't destroy him or the relationship. He did that himself. He is a controlling, intolerant, misogynistic bigot. Manipulative, too. Bigot. I wanted to expand on this, based on his comment that he views himself as imperialist, and then had the comments that he did not support the racial justice protests because it made America look bad, reveals that he never really changed that belief either. He obviously holds the belief that the status quo, aka white and male, power structure in America is superior to other cultures, and any attempt to change that by those not in the status quo is not America. I would have deep worries for any partner of his, especially those that are of a different race than him. There are many stories of domestic abuse and murder out there of men, especially military men, with this belief, and his controlling behavior only deepens that fear. I really wish men like this came with a warning label on them because he needs dramatic help. He wants a wife that he feels fundamentally superior to. He sees her as the spoils of war, and I'm willing to bet that he believes his status as a member of the military credits him with what he perceives as American superiority and dominance. It's such a weird thing for men like me to understand. My wife is black and I am white. If I ever felt superior to a woman in any way, I would have no desire to date or marry her. What would be the point? That's not love. Posted by user ThrowSB with boyfriend. Titled, Will my boyfriend, 27 male, leave me, 26 female, for my sugar baby past? Now, when I met my boyfriend Tom, not his real name, I had an arrangement with a sugar daddy. I never loved that man, and I was upfront with Tom about my relationship. Tom wasn't happy about it, but I made clear to him that I enjoy the attention I was getting from my arrangements, and he accepted it. We dated for another half a year, and decided I didn't want Tom to feel bad about it, and I broke up with my sugar daddy. We have been together for almost 3 years now. Tom was always very shy. However, recently, he became much more confident and outgoing. He told me he is hanging out with one of his friends who is a pickup artist. I read about them, and it seems those people are very manipulative and train themselves how to seduce women. I like Tom being confident and outgoing, but he also started to say many derogatory things about women who sleep around. I knew that my boyfriend never liked my past arrangements, and yesterday we had an argument when he brought it up and said that he should not have dated me. He later apologized, but I had an anxiety attack and I could not sleep at night. I am a pretty girl, but now I feel like I'm not enough for Tom. I love him and wanted to marry, but I don't feel secure anymore. Do you think Tom will change his mind? Edit, thank you for all your replies. I don't think I am a sex worker. I will talk to him in the evening and ask for counseling. Wait, you continued this arrangement whilst dating Tom, is that right? I told him on the 3rd date, and he still dated me. I didn't know I was that hurtful to him. Oh, come on now. You even say in your post you broke up with your sugar daddy because you didn't want Tom to feel bad. You can't play the I didn't know card. The fact you decided to get a sugar daddy in the first place is between you and your conscience. It's not up to others to judge what two consenting adults agree upon. However, you can't pretend you didn't know how disrespectful it was to keep getting paid for whatever simulacrum of a relationship your sugar daddy and you had agreed upon, 6 months into an actual relationship just because you liked the attention. It's not to say Tom isn't responsible for accepting to date you in the first place, and his misogynistic tendencies are only on him, of course. He let you deepen his insecurities and failed to either communicate with you or stand up for himself. You played with him out of convenience for your ego, but he let you play with him because of a lack of self-respect or self-awareness. If you want things to work out between you, I would recommend to seek some professional counseling because there's a lot of resent and misunderstanding between you two, and it's starting to bubble up in really bad ways. When we dated, I didn't see Tom as a serious boyfriend. Only after a few months, I noticed how kind he is. That's why I broke up with that old man. He was never misogynistic before, it's only after he met this pickup artist. I will ask him about counseling. Do you think we can still be together? He accepted a situation he was unhappy with for 6 months because he liked you. It has to have a cost on his self-esteem. He had to live half a year knowing that every time he wasn't up to your standards, you had another dude on speed dial who would pay you and give you your dopamine boost for, I don't know, whatever you agreed to do for, to, and with him. At some point, you really need to stop excusing yourself and put yourself in his shoes. Do you think you would be together today if he had kept a regular butt buddy for the first 6 months of your relationship? Always the same one, and who would praise her benefits in your presence? And he was never misogynistic before? The misogyny might be a recent development, or might always be lingering, just not expressed explicitly. The pickup artist merely found an eager listener in your boyfriend's buried insecurities, as this type of person often does. And I will ask him about counseling. Do you think we can still be together? Maybe. I mean, it depends on how far deep this rabbit hole he is, and if you manage to clear the tacit tension between you. For what you said, neither of you hurt the other beyond anything unacceptable, so it's really a matter if you can forgive yourselves and manage to create healthy ways to communicate with each other. Update. I talked to Tom in the evening and we broke up. I still cannot believe it. We had a talk yesterday and it went badly. I asked Tom about our last arguments, and he said he wanted to break up last weekend, but he knew I would be hurt and he could not make himself too. He told me that he felt bad about my arrangement, and he always saw it as sex work. When we dated, he really liked me and enjoyed our time together, but now he wants to move on. He was sorry for being silent all those years because he wasn't confident enough to break up, and he thought he could forget about it eventually. I asked him about counseling, but he refused. He said that he read a lot in the past few weeks and made his mind up already. He doesn't think he can move on. When I asked if his friend influenced his decision, he became very defensive. He said that his friend made him a more mature and assertive person. He wants to work on himself before he starts dating. When I asked if we can date in the future, he said he loved me, but he cannot consider me a girlfriend anymore. He cannot deal with the fact that I had sex with an old man for gifts while I was conventionally dating him. He's still angry about it and feels jealous. I explained that I was in a bad place in my life. He understands, but he was also in a bad spot many times and somehow figured things out. I said I love him and ensured that my past sugaring arrangement meant nothing for me and I wouldn't do it again. He said he values sex very much and it felt very cheap that I shared it with the other person for money. He said it still hurts him even after 3 years. Tom said I can live in his place for another month and he will help me to find a new place. I understand why some people may see it as sex work, but for me, this arrangement was just a relationship with benefits. I may not be the smartest girl, but I cannot believe he wants to throw away 3 years of our relationship, and I really feel bad now. He said that I am very pretty and I can date other guys, but I am crying. Other guys I dated were jerks, and the only serious boyfriend I had in my life hates me. I will try to find an older man that can talk to Tom and explain that relationships don't have to be perfect. We still live together, thus he might still change his mind. I am really sorry for the pain I caused to him, and I don't want us to break up. Edit. I accept I was a sex worker, and I hurt Tom. That was one-off, and I never cheated on my boyfriend. It was 2 years ago. How can I help him? Edit 2. You people are hateful. All messages are just awful. I was not serious with that man, I was serious with my boyfriend. I tried to save our relationship. Croaky Poem says, It's over, I'm sorry to tell you. He has moved on from the sounds of it. I'd go after someone else and try to move on as well. I would advise OP to try to find and invest her time in a very progressive potential partner. A history of prostitution is a deal breaker for the vast majority of people. Maybe set up an old profile that puts her experience as a sex worker right out in the open to screen out all the people who will have a problem with it. From what she wrote, the boyfriend is only at the beginning of his pickup artist career. He still behaved civil and still gave her time to find her own place. If Tom is any decent, he will soon discover a new world of girls who didn't have this kind of past. Hell, he probably will find prettier girls. He's young, only 27 years old, and he has time on his side. I am sure his friend already explained to him that. Edit. I did a bit of pickup artist myself, and I saw how it works, i.e., a nerd becoming a social butterfly in 2 to 3 years. Sorry, OP, I don't think there is anything wrong with you. Former sex work is unattractive, and unfortunately, this is the stigma you will carry. I see it like a -1 of your hotness, because you are not a full-blown escort. However, it's not the reason to break up, especially that Tom is already dating you for a long period. What really happened is the power imbalance in your relationship, i.e., when you started dating, the power was on your side. Pretty girl versus shy nerd. But now it's your boyfriend who upgraded, i.e., became more confident and outgoing, and he's looking for a better partner. Assuming this is real, your ex is now of the age where he is looking for a long-term partner, wife. He has known for a while it's not you because you used to be a sex worker and were a sex worker when you were dating him, at least at the beginning. He decided he does not want to deal with that for the rest of his life. That is a reasonable and valid reason to end the relationship. Sorry, but it's over. You will need to accept that. Posted by user Gertie2. Titled, New boyfriend, 22 male, very touchy, and doesn't understand when I'm, 22 female, seriously telling him no. So my new boyfriend is really great. He is super caring and thoughtful and respectful of me. Please don't read this and think, ugh, another crappy boyfriend, because he's not the kind of guy you think he is just from reading this one issue. So we play wrestle and stuff, which is fun. And even when I say no or stop through the laughter, he obviously doesn't because I'm just joking around. But sometimes when he's being really touchy or cuddly or initiates sex, I say no. He also doesn't get it. I mean, he won't force me to do anything, but he will just keep trying even after I say no or push him away. It's annoying because I'll tell him 10 times, and it isn't until I actually have to get a bit mad before he gets it. I have sensory issues because of my level 1, mild autism, and it's actually extremely overwhelming for me, but I try to keep it in because I don't want to offend him. I've told him I have sensory issues, and that he is overwhelming me, but I really don't think he understands because I don't react the way I feel. Then, the other night he started touching me, and I tried to get off and say stop and no, but it didn't work. Unfortunately, a symptom of mild autism when we are overwhelmed is disassociation. I went into a disassociation episode and couldn't get out of it for an hour. It was horrible. Everything looked fake. I felt dizzy. I felt like I was in a video game. Nothing felt real to touch. I was extremely anxious. He was super helpful though, and didn't touch me at all, and was just talking me through it. I was embarrassed, but he kept just saying that he's here for me and not to worry. But I really just don't think he understood that he caused it. I couldn't speak, it was such a bad episode. I wish I wasn't like this, but I am. I also feel really bad to tell him that, because he was just showing me affection. I just don't think he understands. Edit. Okay, so I understand now that it's not okay and it is intentional. I really was feeling guilty before, and now I feel a bit valid for having these feelings. I also realize now that my no's should be enough. They aren't just no's either. I see now that I am communicating properly. I say no, that's not funny, I don't like that, don't touch me, stop, go away, please stop now, it's not funny anymore, and more. I do say it more casually at first, but eventually I say it with a straight face and very sternly while I push him away. I've even said how many times do I have to say no, and he said that I'm cute when I'm mad, so I think he's doing it on purpose now. I know that he understands, because if I say no or ow during sex, he stops immediately, no matter how I say it. I will have a talk with him about how I'm just as serious when I say it outside of sexual contact or before sex. I think I'll try to do a safe word. We have a very jokey relationship, so I really don't think this is anything more than miscommunication. I'll keep you guys updated. Thanks. And Idly Browsing says, look, a lot of people are nice when they're not doing crappy things. It doesn't mean their actions are less crappy, and it doesn't mean they can use their niceness as an excuse to continue doing crappy things. Bottom line, your boyfriend is not as nice as you think if he can't take no for an answer. It's your body, your rules. So have a serious conversation time. Tell him he needs to respect your boundaries. When you tell him no and he doesn't stop the first time, you leave. Either leave his house or tell him to go home. Stick to it. He should learn after the first couple of times. If not, he is choosing to distress you, and you absolutely should dump him for being a piece of crap. For me, I think he doesn't understand very much since he sometimes says no jokingly. I think they have to sit down and talk deeply about this so that they can both voice out their concerns because they might not be on the same page still. And like a user commented, they should have a safe word so he can really know when she isn't joking, and if he still touches her, then we can say he doesn't care about boundaries and is sexually assaulting her. This can be summarized quickly into, my boyfriend is really great, except for when I revoke consent and he continues doing what I don't want him to. Is he on the spectrum as well? Either way, have a conversation now, not in the moment, about all of this. How if you said no, he needs to immediately stop. If he doesn't immediately stop and or tries again, you need to get out of this relationship. It means he's not as great as you think he is. Good luck. Climbing in to agree and say that I had an ex like this. He seemed wonderful, except for the fact I had to constantly reassert that no means no. It's not a negotiation. We had several talks about the importance of this. I dumped him after one day he went too far and sexually assaulted me. OP, a genuinely great guy does not need consent to be explained to him. He'll just get it. And OP replies to the first one, he's not on the spectrum, no. It's very mild and people don't know I have it until I tell them. It's just difficult because I know I can be a lot to handle. I am very, very particular of where I like being touched and when I can be touched. And I know it's been frustrating for previous partners. It really isn't the same as a neurotypical person who says no to unwanted touch because I wish that I wanted it. My mum even had to have a talk with me after she noticed I swatted my ex-boyfriend's hand away after he rubbed my shoulder, without thinking. It's normally very friendly touches, but it's still too much for me sometimes. I just wish that I could be okay with him touching me more often. No, no, no. This happened to me in high school. My then boyfriend wouldn't stop touching me after I told him to stop. Just normal touches, poking in the side, arm around the shoulders, tickling. Things that I told myself were no big deal, and if I could just put up with it, it would be fine. I didn't want to be the girl who freaked out over something so dumb. I figured they're just normal parts of being in a relationship, and I wanted to be okay with it. Except that it wasn't dumb. The longer he got away with ignoring my no, the more he would push my boundaries, to the point where he was trying to force me to French kiss him in the hallway every day, despite me saying how much I hated how it felt. I had multiple friends ask me if I was okay, or if I wanted them to punch him, and I kept saying I was fine, because I wanted it to be fine. His excuse for why he didn't stop when I told him to was because I wasn't yelling at him to stop, and I looked cute when I was annoyed. I would explain in person that I was serious. I would text him after that I had been serious about stopping, and I even had a friend explain the rules of consent to him, but he still wouldn't stop. It did not end well, and I am glad that I got out of it without getting seriously hurt. It wasn't me being difficult. He ended up doing some messed up things because he kept pushing my boundaries further and further, and I just kept accepting it because, well, maybe I'm being unreasonable. This is not a you problem. Everyone has ways that they don't like to be touched, times they don't want to be touched, etc. Maybe you have more ways and times that you don't like to be touched because of your sensory issues. That is perfectly fine. You wish you did like to be touched those ways, but you can't force yourself to want something. It boils down to this. The touches make you uncomfortable. If this guy is worth being in a relationship with, then he does not want to make you uncomfortable. He does not want you to have to put up with being uncomfortable. It's possible it's a communication issue, and he really doesn't know when you want him to stop. My advice is to have a safe word for when you're super serious about getting him to stop, like anytime you say, absolutely stop, he stops. Then, if he ever keeps going after you've used your safe word, you know he isn't worth being in a relationship with because he doesn't care enough about you being comfortable. But if he's good about stopping when you want him to, maybe you end up being more comfortable with him touching you more often, and you won't have to use your safe word because you'll be comfortable knowing he'll stop if you need him to. Update. I decided to have a frank conversation with him about it. He took it very well and was very apologetic. I just told him that I really need him to listen when I say no, and that he should be able to tell the difference between when I'm laughing and we're joking around, and when I'm saying it very seriously and pulling away. I also said when it comes to sex, there is no way I would say no, and it means something else, only when we play wrestle and stuff. He agreed. Then, later in the night, we were just making out and stuff, and he was trying to have sex, but I said no. He tried like 5 other times, and I kept saying no, and I was pretty upset he didn't get it. I said it in complete seriousness, but I did go back to kiss him a few more times because I was okay with that. I told him my stomach hurt, which it did, and I was just too tired to enjoy that right now. But kissing is fine. Alright, I'm just going to say a quick trigger warning here if anyone wants to stop reading. Maybe just skip ahead like 30 seconds. I pulled away to get up and he pulled me back and put his hands down my pants, so I just disassociated instantly. I pulled his hand out and moved away and just waited for it to pass. I couldn't really speak to him about it right then because I was disassociated. The next morning I brought it up right away and basically said that was messed up, and he started getting really ashamed, and said that he was just trying to get me horny and he didn't realize that was what I meant. I offered the suggestion of a safe word, but he said he doesn't want to do that. I said it would make me feel more comfortable that I'm not miscommunicating, and he said he probably wouldn't have got it last night even if I used one. So I said then it's over because that would be assault. He completely changed his mind. He's been really apologetic all day and promising it'll never happen again. He said he doesn't want to ever make me feel like that again and just feeling super bad about it. He literally has been apologizing non-stop and saying that he finally gets it. He bought me my favorite meal as an apology, lol. So I decided to wait on it and see if anything else happens. He promises he gets it now, so I'll give it one more shot. Later on, we're getting into it and having sex, not coerced lol, and he says, "Don't ever deny me this again, and this is mine now," and stuff. I didn't say anything, so he repeated it and was like, "Will you stop me again?" And then I'm like, "Sometimes? Yeah, if I feel like it." And he's like, "No, you won't." Lol. I don't know if he was trying to be hot, but yeah, I think that's enough red flags for me. He's apologizing when you're on the verge of ending it, and then going right back to his pushy ways. This needs to end. He will eventually take advantage of you. The "no you won't" line would have shut the door on it for me. Please tell me this means you broke up with him. I haven't really said anything yet. My friends think I should give him one more chance, but I don't know. He says he was joking about what he said, but that's kind of weird to joke about, lol. One more chance? Chance to do what? Take advantage of you? Holy crap, OP. Your friends are either really naive, or else they wish you harm. He assaulted you with his hand after you said no. He then openly admitted he would have assaulted you no matter what you said. It's pretty obvious from the latter conversation during sex that he gets off on the idea of power play and non-consent, and you being unable to stop him. This whole thing is showing a pattern of escalation. He's likely to assault you more seriously next time. Pretending he was joking about assaulting you when you said stop or a safe word, who even repeatedly jokes about that? Bullcrap. He walks things back whenever he realizes his red flags are showing, but he's getting bolder. Leave him before it escalates. I don't say this lightly. Posted by user Throwaway180592. Titled, "My 28 female daughter, 6 months, is sick and it's because of my in-laws." So, I've been stewing on this all day. Location is Australia. On Tuesday, I took my daughter to see her dad. We're still together, but we live with our own parents due to finances. And by default, his parents, late 40s, early 50s, and siblings, 8 male and 6 female. Not long after we got there, they told us that the kids had been sick. Would have been nice to have known considering I have a baby. Well, yesterday she starts coughing a bit and is slowly getting more congested. I was up all night with her trying to soothe her, but she's my first child. I had no idea how to help her. Spoke to the doctor and he seems to think viral infection, but if she progresses then I need to get her COVID tested. Spoke to her dad and I apologized for not wanting to take her to visit his parents for a while. He was in complete agreement, and in his words, they screwed up. So what I need advice on is how on earth do I move forward with them? For the 4 years we were together before we got pregnant, I didn't exist. I was only really spoken to after they found out I was pregnant, which in itself has been something I've been struggling to let go of. I'm just beyond pissed off because they could have rescheduled, and my daughter wouldn't be sick. I'm stressing because her nose is so blocked that she's struggling to breathe. She doesn't want her bottles and isn't keeping everything down. Thank you in advance. Edit, for extra info that answers a lot of comments. 1. I am completely aware that babies get sick. Yes, it's a part of life and I'll take it as it comes. My whole point was this was completely unavoidable, and I don't know whether they didn't think much of it because they've had 4 kids or if they were being selfish. 2. After reading the comments, I realized that I should also be pissed off at my significant other, considering he lives with them. 3. He doesn't really talk to them because of his upbringing with them. Let's just say they're not the nicest parents. He does pay rent and lives with them out of convenience. 4. By no means am I comparing my daughter having a cold to his parents losing a baby to SIDS. My whole point there was that his daughter is still at risk of dying from that, albeit low odds. It just disappoints me that they could be so reckless with her health. And 5, I appreciate every single comment, even the ones I don't agree with or upset me. And most of all, I appreciate all of the advice on how to help my daughter get better. I'm sorry for not being able to reply to everyone. I'm super exhausted. I will try to over the next few days. I'm gonna leave it to him to talk with his parents, and if he doesn't, I'll be even more pissed at him, and couples counseling will happen. Either way, his parents are going to know that if the kids are sick, we won't visit. And it works both ways. If my daughter is sick, we still won't be visiting. Thank you all again. Queen Frigg says, avoid all outings, childcare, school, and you going back to work. Honestly, kids do get colds easily, as everything goes straight to their mouth. Yes, they should have told you before you arrived, but how did your partner not know his siblings were sick? It's going to be a hard few nights. Just make sure you sleep during the day, and showers together will help clear the snot out of Bubby's nose. And OP replies, I get that she's gonna get sick. My whole thing was, how do I move forward with them? He doesn't really interact with his family. He goes to work, comes home, and maybe eats, but mostly goes to bed or he'll be at my house. He found out when I found out. Thank you for the last paragraph too. It's just awful. I feel so bad for her, and am trying my best to help her through it. And he doesn't really interact with his family. That's a problem. You two aren't even in a romantic relationship any longer. He really needs to be the one to deal with his family. He needs to be setting these boundaries with them. If he cannot perform basic social functions with people he lives with, maybe you should look to amend your custody arrangements. His daughter's well-being depends on the functioning of all relationships in the place she lives. So we're still together, but we don't live together. And I totally agree with setting the boundaries. I'm leaving it up to him to talk to his parents, but if he doesn't, I will. I don't want a precedent to be set. Some people just don't get it. Lots, really, unless they haven't had a high-risk kid. If it's not a first offense with them, I'd start getting boundary ideas from just no mother-in-law/family etc. subs. I have family that never cared to share that info, but they also feed their kids party pies and sausage rolls for breakfast most days. Well, the kicker is they lost their second kid to sudden infant death syndrome. It is their first offense, which is why I don't know where to go from here. I did tell her dad that he has to deal with it because it's his parents, and if it were my family, I would have ass-blasted them into the next century. I've posted on the mother-in-law sub before, so I might just go ahead and do it again. Thank you again for responding, I really appreciate it. I'll say that many people accept children's colds as a part of life, so they'd cancel for things like a fever or vomiting, but not a cold. Basically, if they could send the kid to school, they just won't worry about it. Now, with the pandemic as a possibility, we all need to be more strict than that. But if there's not a community spread where you're living, they may not see that as necessary. I would just say something like, we would really appreciate it if you would let us know ahead of a visit if anyone has been sick, but continue to limit visits on your own while pandemic is a possibility. Oh, for sure, I totally agree. And I think with her being so young is why I'm so annoyed. I do like that, so I think I may send that. Thank you for your input. The smartest man I knew said the following to me when my first child was born. Congratulations, you're going to be sick for the next 21 years. And it's true. Kids are like breeding grounds of disease. They get sick all the time and give it to everyone they come in contact with, including you. Don't be too hard on your in-laws. Take her temperature regularly, make sure it's safe. If it spikes, virus or no, go to the hospital immediately. A temperature 104 degrees plus Fahrenheit or 40 Celsius is very dangerous. Use the little suction thing to keep her nose clear. There is special electrolyte fluid you should be able to get to give your child if she can't keep formula down. Thank you for your help with this part. I wasn't told much by the doctor, and you guys have helped me heaps with how to help her. I guess I'm frustrated with them because they've lost a baby to SIDS, and it seems so reckless that they were okay with my daughter possibly getting sick because she's so young is what stresses me. Get used to hearing it's viral in regards to childhood illnesses. Your baby will be sprouting horns, belching flames, talking Latin backwards, and have its head twist around while levitating above its crib. You'll take it to the doctor and he'll say, it's viral. It's viral is doctor speak for screwed if I know. Update. So first I just want to say thank you to everyone's replies. I did answer further questions in the post because there were a lot of comments and my daughter is still sick. My significant other spoke to his parents. They showed no remorse. They didn't care too much that she was sick. Then his mum decided she's not buying my daughter toys for Christmas because she has too many. I don't give a flying F if she gets her toys or anything for that matter. And then showed him the present that he's going to get her, which is a trolley type thing, because I don't want a walker. I believe they're dangerous. What works for other parents may not work for us. And she also had something snarky to say about me not wanting the walker. Guys, for years I tried to have a relationship with these people. Then they found out I was pregnant and all of a sudden I existed. I tried so hard after she was born. There were so many instances of disrespect that I let slide, but the moment she decided to criticize my parenting is where I drew the line. My significant other will be coming home to me from now on. We're working on saving to get the hell out. My parents have been fantastic with my daughter and I living with them. And for those who didn't understand him not knowing his siblings were sick, he doesn't interact with his family because his parents don't respect him as a parent or a person. So again, thank you for all your replies. It helped a lot. And baby is on the mend. She's still not great, but she's getting there, and all the advice that was given about her has helped heaps. Sebamake says, "Wow, your daughter definitely does not deserve to have such awful people in her life. Look at how they treated you before versus when you had your baby. They are just completely selfish people. I could never imagine going to see an infant knowing I had just been around someone sick, especially with what's going on around the world right now. And they don't even care? I just would not even want to have a relationship with them at all. I would tell my partner, they're your parents, you can talk to them, deal with them, but I don't want to talk to them or see them again." That's pretty much what's happening. And they have Christmas on Christmas Eve, so I'll go there as late as I can so I don't have to stay long because I'll have to take my daughter home. I still will go to Christmas, but purely for his siblings. Other than that, they don't get to see her because I'm the only one that can drive her because I have the license. I'm literally the one who organizes them seeing her. Well, no more. Good for you. Stand your ground on the walker too. They're illegal in Canada for a reason. Studies have shown they greatly hinder a child's development, aside from how incredibly dangerous they are. Exactly. And like I said, we have stairs. Plus we have dogs and one is blind and deaf, because he's 19 years old. My daughter can learn how to walk without one. My daughter had hip dysplasia, and I had to talk my mum out of her walker a few times. She's 1 now, and walking. Not to mention, all babies learn at different times. Why rush it? Do what's best for your baby, and remind them they are not the parents. Jesus, I'm sorry that your mum was trying to go against you. She already has an activity center that she stands in anyways. I think it's more that my mum is old, so she forgets most conversations we have. Okay, so that's completely different. Posted by user Throwaway No College 01. Titled, Mum had an affair 18 years ago. I, 18 male, am the product of it. My dad just informed me of all of this and told me he will not pay for my college while my siblings got their college experience paid by our dad. Pretty much the title. I have no idea how to process all this, and I am completely unprepared for what lies ahead. Both my older brother and sister went to the same college. My brother graduated 2 years ago. My sister is set to graduate in 2 years. Both had their college paid by our dad. Dad paid all their college expenses, including rent, food, their cars, pocket money, you name it. My brother has a job now, his own place, lives together with his fiance, and has his life together. My sister already has a good paying job, and my dad still pays for almost everything for her. I got accepted to the same college, which was always the plan, and was looking forward to talk to my parents about the next steps, and ask them to help me the same they did for my siblings. I always assumed they had money put aside for college the way they had for my siblings. Instead, I was met with a story about my mum's cheating, how I am the result of her cheating, and how my dad is not willing to support me anymore moving forward. Dad told me that Mum had 18 years to let me know and prepare me for the future, but obviously he never did. He said it was never his place to say anything since I am not his son, and didn't want to interfere with Mum's parenting. Apparently my grandparents know I am not Dad's biological son, but they haven't bothered to tell me anything either. My siblings had no idea, and they are as surprised as I am because there was never a hint of anything being off. I might be naive, but I always thought I had a great relationship with my dad. We go to see sports together, we go fishing together, he tutored me when I had difficulties with math. Dad is an engineer. He taught me to drive. I never got a hint he stores resentment towards me. I mean, he gave me my name and has explained what my name means, and he was very proud of it. It's a story he tells from time to time. He likes to talk about stuff like that about me. My mum has never said a word about anything, and apparently she was supposed to have the talk with me, but she never did. I feel abandoned and unprepared for what lies ahead. I am not even sure I will be able to go to college anymore. I always assumed my parents will pay for it. I never had a job, and I'm not sure what job I can even get to support me through college. I have no idea how to apply for loans. All my mum has done is cry and apologize, but nothing of substance. She has no idea how to help me. I don't even know if I'm welcomed home anymore. It's all up in the air. I feel shame leaving my room, and if I will be asked to move out, I don't know where to go. I don't have any savings, maybe $400 put together. I am angry at my mum, I am confused about where I stand with my dad. There's a man out there who is my father that never wanted to have anything to do with me. I feel rejected, and I have no idea what to do to fix this situation. Anyone have any idea what to do here? Do I apologize to my dad? What do I say to him? I don't know. I've been stuck in my room these past few days, reading and browsing Reddit. I have no idea what to do. Also, if he truly will not help, apply for emancipation. That way, you will qualify for grants and financial aid. And also, explain your situation to the college and university. I ran away from home when I was 16 because it was either run away or get beaten to death. I explained my situation to the university I applied to, and they helped me out. My tuition was covered by financial aid and grants, and I worked while going to school to cover living expenses. I was able to graduate debt-free. Talk to them. They might be able to help. Also not sure if other areas are like this, but in California, you can go to community college with a guaranteed transfer to a university after 2 years. Community college is dirt cheap, and in-state schooling is definitely manageable with a part-time job and the basic financial aid and loans. And when you apply for a job, they won't even have to know you went through that route. You can just say you graduated from X university. I had a friend with something similar. Due to a divorce, parents didn't have college money. He graduated in 6 years with this route due to part-time school and work, but now makes decent money in IT. Just out of curiosity, did they ever get a genetic test? Do they know 100% that he's not your father? I don't know, but Dad seemed pretty sure of it, and by how my mum reacted and reacts right now, I suppose they know it to be true for sure. I would push for a test anyway, to be honest. Seriously, get that DNA test. If your parents won't help you with doing their own, ask your siblings. The devastation will be reinforced substantially if the original theory gets proven. But yep, sounds like the safe option. If the test proves they were related all along, if anything, it works out even worse. Mother's secret is out, father was willing to disown the son at the drop of a hat. No happy families after this one, either way. At least if it was an affair, there was some meaning to the fallout. You need to give your siblings a call and tell us what they said. I only talked with them about me not being Dad's natural son. They don't know about the college thing yet. They are each out of town for a few more days. We'll talk with them when they come back. Definitely tell them the whole story, and don't be afraid to ask them for help in getting it set up as an independent adult. Hopefully they will be your biggest support in all of this. And frankly, help to guilt OP's parents into not being crap stains. Absolutely this. If I was the older brother and completely out on my own upon hearing this story, I'd go no contact with the dad for the rest of my life as long as he's stuck with it. I'd disinvite him from my wedding. I'd tell him he will never meet his grandkids. I'd tell him that the type of person who waits 18 years to stick it to my mum over something and chooses to pull the rug out from under my brother in the process is not someone I want to know anymore. The two siblings are the most important chess pieces here, and they need to go on a shame offensive. Update. Sorry to disappear. Nothing bad happened to me. Managed to talk with my mum yesterday, but I chickened out halfway through what I had to say. The good news is that I'm not being kicked out or disowned, etc. Thank you for all your support, everyone. I will follow through and call financial aid at my college in a few hours and take it from there. My grandpa had a stroke a week ago, and my dad is helping my grandma with setting up a live-in nurse, so he wasn't around yesterday. I will let you know how I manage. Thank you again. Update 2. Sorry for not updating. My grandpa passed away yesterday morning. Nothing happened to me, but my situation is a secondary concern right now. Regardless, I think I will be alright. Thanks to your amazing support and help. My sister is aware of everything and told me not to worry. She has my back and I have her support. I promise to update when and if there are any significant changes. Right now, I need to support my grandma. Thank you again to everyone. Update. The reaction to my original post put an uncomfortable amount of pressure on me to write this update. I am not sure if it's what you want to hear, but things are more or less back to a normal state if you consider other events. Unfortunately, my grandpa died at the beginning of this week, and I am still processing it. I did manage to talk with both my mum and dad, and I know where I now stand in relation with them as well as my siblings. I am not sure I would have had the courage to say what I had to say if not for the amount of help and advice in the comments. I think it is safe to say both my parents love me, and what happened 2 weeks ago was an overreaction to a fight between my parents. It makes me uncomfortable knowing I am not aware of my own environment, but a stranger in the comments can tell me what's happening in my life with only a few lines of texts from my side. A lot of comments were spot on about what is happening in my life. I have so far went through 40%, I estimate, of the comments, but I have given up. There are too many for me to keep up with. The conclusion is that I am definitely going to college. It will be the college I have always wanted to go to, and I will have the same experience as my siblings. The money to pay for all of this already exists. My family is not going bankrupt as suggested. My dad just had a mental breakup with all these issues around my grandpa and his fight with my mum. Even if my dad would have went through with his decision, my grandma let me know my grandpa left me and my siblings a sum we will have to split between the three of us, but enough to put through college. What started the entire scandal was poor timing on my part. My parents just had a fight, and then I showed up saying, hey, pay for my college. My parents were talking about us, their children, and Mum said something to the lines of, to think you wanted to split up when I came back pregnant, or something like that. I was not there, this is what she told me. I guess Dad was talking about how proud he was of his children, and Mum wanted to express her gratitude for Dad raising me as his own. And Dad took it as, the affair was the best decision I ever made, or something like that. And their fight escalated from there. And Mum told Dad something like, what makes you think any of them are yours? Yeah, it went downhill from there fast. Shortly after that, my dumb face showed up and here I am. Dad and Mum have since made up. Mum is still a mess. Dad is not handling my grandpa's passing away too well either. I did talk with my siblings, and my sister raised a storm and wrote it here while blasting my parents on the phone. My brother was calmer, but made his feelings known in no uncertain terms as well once he got back home. My grandpa passing away sort of kept spirits calm, I guess, and shifted the focus to dealing with that. Reading the comments was a mind-opening experience. I felt unprepared for the world out there. Many have asked how I had no idea how to apply for loans or grants. Well, in my defense, when you go year after year after year, knowing you have nothing to worry about, that your college is as good as paid for already, you don't really have to worry about anything else. Of course, I knew there were loans and other things students have to be aware of, but it didn't apply to me. I went from, I'm going to college, can't wait, to, you're not my son and I will not pay for your college, in less than 24 hours. Others have been prepared for this. At the very least, they knew they had to get a loan or get a job, look for a place to live, and so on. For me, it was a sudden change in reality. Going through the comments, I managed to put a list together with various tips and tricks. What jobs are available for students, how to find a place to live, how to get a credit card, a bank account, a cell phone plan, and so on. Really good stuff that I think, even after the return to normal, will help me. My parents have been called more names than they go by, and that was uncomfortable to read, and I haven't even read all the comments. I can't even imagine what else lies in the comments. Waiting. Dad is very sorry, apologetic, about his reaction and behavior. I understand his reaction, but I still feel hurt by it. I understand he was not in the best place of mind, but I can't control my feelings either. We will be alright, and this hasn't irreparably damaged our relationship. Mum hasn't handled everything that well, but she is coming around, and she answered some more questions for me. When Mum had an affair years ago and got pregnant with me, my parents started divorce. Mum moved in with the man she had the affair with, but after a few months, that guy decided he wanted nothing to do with it. He kicked Mum out and she had nowhere to go. So my grandparents took her in because she was still the mother of their grandkids. I'm getting a lot of heat for this mistake, but I know in my family's culture, grandparents call their grandkids nephews as well. Mum and Dad got back together. After a lot of work, Dad took me as his own, and that's my life since then. The man who is my natural father is not in the picture anymore. Dad didn't really know who he is, and Mum hasn't heard or seen him ever since. He was fully aware my mum was pregnant with his child. I guess he had more important things to do. But it doesn't sound like he was able to cure world hunger. She met him in a bar, not at a fundraiser. And I don't feel a need to know any more about who he is. I thought about the matter the last 2 weeks, since I've been aware of everything, and haven't really felt a desire to know who he is, where he is, if he is still alive, and if I have other siblings out there. I was suggested to go buy a DNA kit from 23andMe, maybe I can find him that way. But I think I will avoid doing this specifically so I don't find him or he finds me. As far as I care, I have a mum and a dad and a brother and a sister, and that's my family. Moving forward, I do plan on getting a job and becoming more independent, but not in an attempt to distance myself from my family, but to feel like I would not be lost in the world if my family suddenly disappears. My mum admits I've been babied way more than my siblings, and that they should have prepared me more for what's coming next. I did learn where I stand with my family, and it's safe to say that I am loved and I have options. I thought I am isolated, but my world is wider than I thought. Grandparents, siblings, my aunt, my cousins, all have my back. I think my parents are human, and they make mistakes, and even though that was not their greatest moments, I think I will look at everything as nothing more than a weak moment in an otherwise wonderful relationship. Thank you. Sorry about your grandpa, but I'm relieved it ended on a good note. It looks like you've already sorted out how you are going to deal with this from here. Thanks for the update and good luck. Yeah, he definitely made a good choice to not distance himself from family and to become more independent. Despite the small blemishes, they have treated him well. Sometimes your real father, to you, is not your real father. I just want to say, my sister raised a storm and rode it here is an amazing turn of phrase. That and my parents have been called more names than they go by were my two favorite expressions in this post. Those are really great turns of phrase. I'm really happy things have worked out for you. I think the reason so many people knew what was going on with your parents is because so many commenters are older and have more life experience. It's not that you had no idea what was going on in your home. People behave pretty predictably, and so your dad's actions were less of a mystery to other Redditors. In 15 years, you'll have the same benefit of experience. You already have more than you did a month ago. This is very, very, very true. I will also add it's pretty much always easier to have more clarity of vision from the outside looking in than from within the situation itself. Don't get too down on yourself for that, OP. Another way to look at what happened is wow, you got to learn about a bunch of new life skills and such without the added stress and burden of having to truly figure them all out right now on your own. That's a nice upside. OP, glad to hear this worked out. Sometimes people say mean things on Reddit, but at the end of the day, lots of people are just trying to get through life the best they can. Posted by user An Orange Horse. Titled, My friend is about to ask his girlfriend to marry her, and I'm the only one who knows how unfaithful she is. Do I say anything? So I'm not sure if this belongs in this sub because it isn't my relationship I'm asking for advice about. If not, apologies. So, my good friend Aaron and his girlfriend Mary have been together for almost 7 years. They met in college and are in a very close relationship. Personally, I would call them extremely codependent. Neither of them really have any friends aside from each other. She doesn't let him have guy friends. In fact, she doesn't let him do a lot of things. He's not allowed to go out past 11. Not allowed to drink or smoke, she has to approve all of his friends, and he's not allowed to be alone with other girls. She's got this guy on a tight leash. The reason why they're still together is that Aaron is completely whipped, and to him, she can do no wrong. He talks regularly about how amazed he is that she still finds him attractive. He's a decent-looking guy, but she's like supermodel level good looking. They post cutesy couple photos every day. I'm pretty sure she makes him post them, and to everyone who sees them, they appear to be the perfect magical fairy tale couple. Anyway, a few weeks ago, he told my boyfriend and I that he was planning on proposing to Mary. Of course, we congratulated him because he seemed super excited. Now, here is the issue. A few weeks prior to this, I hung out with a friend of Mary called Allison. Allison told me about a party they went to where Mary got drunk and slept with her ex. After the party, they began hooking up regularly, and she had a threesome with him and a friend of his. Aaron has no knowledge of these hookups. I told my boyfriend about it because he shares my friendship with both of them, and he believes that we need to say something, but I'm not so sure how to even go about that. It will destroy him, ruin their entire relationship, and maybe a friendship as well. However, I think in the long term he will be unhappy with a marriage where she is so controlling. Not even that, but if she is completely okay with cheating on her long-term partner, it will be the same once they are married. Is telling him the right thing to do? Edit. To clarify, the cheating has not been going on for 6 years, as far as I'm aware, and the hookups occurred recently. Edit 2. Some of the commenters are calling me a bad friend for not telling him immediately. After giving it some thought and reading the comments, I have decided to tell him as soon as I can. Most likely, tonight if he's free to hang out. To those saying I'm being a bad friend for waiting, this is a huge deal, and it will greatly affect the future of Aaron, and I want to make sure that I break the news in the correct way. This man is blinded by love. He's not going to be expecting this news at all, and his whole life is about to change. I'm definitely not going to do nothing, because he deserves much better than this woman, and he deserves to know the truth about what he's getting into if she still decides to marry her. I'm expecting a full-blown crap storm. I'm expecting him to be hurt, angry, in disbelief. I don't believe it's wrong that I'm asking for a bit of advice on how to approach this. Should I have told him sooner? Maybe. But what difference would a few weeks make? For all those asking, I'll post an update when I do it. Edit 3. I've talked to Aaron since I'd posted this, and he's coming over tonight to talk and hang out. My boyfriend and I are going to tell him together because he knows the situation as well. A few of you have suggested I talk to Mary first to give her a chance to come clean. While that is a good idea, I'm not as close to her as I am to Aaron, and I don't see that going over well. I would much rather tell him and leave it to him to decide what to do from there. And edit 4, new information has been received from the third-party friend Allison. She has sent me screenshots of texts that do prove Mary has been involved with her ex. They send messages regularly, and he has sent her nudes. Edit 5, Lamau? I'll just mention that Aaron just got to our house, 8 PM EST. Will update later if I can. Thank you all so much for the kind messages and helping me work through this hot mess out. I have been stressing about this all day, but I believe I am doing the right thing in telling him. Edit 6, quick little edits, 11 o'clock EST. We all talked for a good bit. I told him what I heard from Allison, and it went better than expected, but he was still pretty mad and upset. We are all just chilling and drinking now. I'll post the whole story tomorrow. Thanks again for all the replies. Update. So I got lots of feedback on what to do here. A good majority of the commenters told me to say something. To clarify, it may not have been clear in the OP, but I was never planning on doing nothing. Of course, you gotta tell your bro if they're being cheated on. I was just not sure how to approach the situation. Some of the commenters gave me some very helpful advice. Some of you told me to talk to the girlfriend first, some of you told me to wait, some told me to gather a bunch of evidence first, which I ended up getting from Allison, the third-party friend. Some of you guys got angry with me for not telling him sooner, told me I was a bad friend. Some were sure he wouldn't believe me. Some predicted the girlfriend would deny it all. Well, all of you were somehow right. Here is how it went down. I messaged Allison early on in the day, shortly after I made the post, because typing it all out brought my guilt and apprehension from the situation to the surface. I said to Allison that I needed to tell Aaron, and asked whether or not she had proof. This is when she sent me the screenshots of the text messages. Aaron came over at around 8, and what was great was that Allison came over too. We all sat down and talked for a bit, and we all told him our suspicions about Mary. Allison showed him the text screenshots of Mary talking to her ex, and also told Aaron all the stories she had shared about her sexual encounters. What was the most surprising was his reaction. He took it very well. He first got very quiet and just nodded. Aaron ended up telling us that he had a sneaking suspicion that something was going on. He was not aware of the hookups, but he and Mary had gotten into fights before over the fact that she doesn't allow him near any other girls, but she goes out and flirts with guys all the time. He told us that she had been distant lately and would leave rather often without telling him where she was going. There were a few other small things he mentioned that told us he was just generally unhappy with his relationship. He knew in his gut something was wrong, but wanted to believe it wasn't true. We started unwinding with some alcohol after that, and it all got way more emotional. He cried, talking about how he felt stupid for not seeing it sooner, how he really loved her and would have given her anything. Then he got angry. At her, and even more so at the guy. Some unpleasant and derogatory terms were used to describe her. Ultimately, he told us that he's going to be breaking it off at least for now. We told him a million times how much better he deserved. He is definitely not going to marry her. Thanks again for all the supportive words and advice. We saved a good man from heartbreak. You did well, OP. Hopefully Mary doesn't try to manipulate him or convince him to stay. People like Mary have a knack for that. Keep by his side and make sure he has people to stand up to her with him. The more help he can get through this. Also, try and have him break things off over text or in public. Mary seems like the type to react very badly. Agreed here. I was in a manipulative relationship where the girlfriend took advantage of my inexperience and steady paycheck to feed her validation. Thankfully, my tolerance meter is quite low as it is, so this only lasted 3 months. However, the psychological damage was already done, and it took me years to fully come to terms with this situation. The part that I'm still not able to shake off is how there were plenty of friends around me at the time who just let me stay in that disaster relationship without ever once stepping in to tell me to wake up. I am forever grateful to the real friends who did exactly that, 2 of whom were groomsmen at my wedding. Here for great friends who really care about their own. Posted by user Throw Away My Spermazoa. Titled, Wife, female 33, and I, male 34, decided to try for kids last year. Found out I'm completely infertile without surgery. 5 months later, she got pregnant. I literally do not know what to do. This is long. My wife and I have been married for 3 years, together for 6. She's always been one of the most amazing people I've ever met. No huge fights, love languages match up, and we're both fairly active people, which has been why we've always had a really strong relationship for so long. That's why this is so difficult for me. We've both been doing pretty well in our careers the last few years. She's in marketing, and I work independently as an IT consultant, allowing me to set my own hours and be pretty flexible. We decided last year that we wanted to start a family. Her most likely keeping her full-time job, and me scaling back to part-time. We've both been anxious, but pretty excited to have our own kids. Long story short, I was diagnosed with azoospermia last December. Blockage in the pipes just meant I wasn't actually producing any sperm when ejaculating. It's curable with surgery, thankfully, and we finally got it scheduled this July. She's got a high sex drive, as do I, so we've still been very sexually active. But there should have been no way I could have gotten her pregnant. She missed her period this week. I couldn't imagine that she might actually be pregnant, right? The babies are bottled in until they get the blockage out. She took 3 tests though, and sure enough, they're all positive. At first I was stunned, because this shouldn't be possible. She's never been unfaithful to me in the past, and never given me a reason not to trust her. I'm not the jealous type, but I'm literally stuck. The doctors said this couldn't happen, and I just can't believe my wife would jeopardize the future we've been so excited for over some fling when we seem to have such a great emotional and physical connection. My wife's been ecstatic. She's given no indication of any guilt or worry that she may have cheated. She was so excited when she first found out that I didn't express my worries then. But she left for work and now I feel completely torn. What if she did cheat? Looking back now, there's a few tiny things that didn't seem to be an issue, but now have me racking my brain for clues. Her job often has her taking clients out for dinner, and it's not uncommon for her to get back later in the evening. She definitely had a busy last few months, but that's not uncommon for her job. She always wears one of the same 2 perfumes, but she came back one night smelling completely different. I remember seeing a text message on her lock screen of just a winky face, a different time, but assumed it was one of her girlfriends. Man. I don't know what to do. I set up an appointment on Monday to see if there's any chance it could be mine. If it is mine, and I accuse her of cheating, I feel like the world's biggest a-hole. But she's coming home in a few hours, and I don't know what I'm going to say to her. I can't stop thinking of these small things that may have been her cheating, and I just didn't see it. Do I wait until the doctor's appointment Monday before talking to her, or do I bring up these insecurities while she's celebrating the pregnancy? I'm worried that I won't be able to hide what's going on. Edit. I should add that I've been cheated on before. Our relationship has been pretty healthy, but that old fear is creeping back in now. I'm not sure how to just wait until the appointment. Edit. I really hope y'all are right that some freak sperm made it past. My wife's coming home, though, in an hour, and I have to decide if I'm going to put on a happy face until Monday or not. Edit. She texted saying she's going to be home late. This is bringing up some old emotional scars, I think, and is just effing with me. I'm usually never this insecure or uncertain about being straightforward. I think I need to just find some way to bring it up without being accusatory. I'd say you should wait for the appointment. Biology can surprise us sometimes, but prepare for the worst case scenario. Should I take her with me to it? I'm weighing the choices between that and going alone. I'm going to have to bring it up anyways. There's no way I can hide this when she gets back. Don't bring her with you. You don't know what the doctor might say. If the news is good, congratulations, my man. If the news is bad, just take some air and be as calm as possible. I literally just studied this. Okay, so although you've been diagnosed with azoospermia, it means that when they looked at your semen in the lab, it didn't have any sperm in it. However, you produce a lot of semen, and the lab only looks at a tiny fraction of it, which usually gives a good response. Usually, you would repeat several times before concluding it's azoospermia, although just because the lab didn't see any sperm, it can just mean that you had an incredibly low count. So none of their samples from the sample you have showed any. This doesn't necessarily mean that, for example, in a normal ejaculation, a normal guy would have 30 to 900 million sperm, which is usually about 15 million per milliliter. It's possible you have maybe even 1,000 sperm per milliliter and would still be diagnosed with azoospermia, as it would not be expected that the likelihood of getting pregnant at the right time with only 1,000 sperm would be probable, but it can happen. Even if you only had 1 sperm per milliliter of ejaculate, you could still get her pregnant, but you would definitely never find that 1 sperm as a biomedical scientist in a lab. Good luck and happy fatherhood. F, I hope you're right. I don't remember exactly what they said, but are there any forms that would have a complete lack of sperm counts? They seemed to be convinced it was completely blocked off, but this was all months ago. I don't remember exactly what they said. My mum had her tubes tied twice and got pregnant again after each time. Her doctors told her both times there was no way she'd get pregnant again. Doctors are sometimes wrong. I have 2 little sisters to show for it. Update. First, I just want to thank everyone who reached out and offered their story about similar. I can't believe how many people are told that they're completely sterile and end up being able to have kids anyway. I took a lot of what you guys said to heart. I had an ex of mine from years ago end up cheating on me, and it really left a scar for a while. It wasn't until I got a lot more involved with sports and getting in better shape that I was able to try and move on. My wife and I actually met in a soccer league we were in together. We've had so much trust for so long that I thought those fears had gone away. It wasn't until now that I really started to feel shaken like that again. But I didn't want to let my past get in the way of what could be just a huge blessing. A few people really articulated the right way to communicate my feelings in a way that wasn't accusatory and respectful of my wife, who's never really given me a reason to doubt her. It's not uncommon for her to sometimes be home late, and she'll usually like to go straight to bed. I didn't want to dump this on her immediately, and I decided to give myself a night to sleep on it. I got up pretty early, just being restless, went for a run, and cleared my mind. I couldn't wait any longer. I made our favorite omelets and told her I needed to talk about something. You know I'm not Ashley, right? She knows me well. Ashley's my ex who cheated. So, first I apologized. I apologized because I let this build up in my head for so long without talking about it with her sooner. What should be blessing has been nothing but insecurity and fear for me. We talked for a while. I told her how happy it made me to see her ecstatic and excited for the baby. I told her how much I loved the relationship that we've built together, and I feel like an a-hole for questioning her loyalty. She had never given me a reason to not trust her, and that I still couldn't emotionally get over the thoughts of infidelity because of my ex. She thanked me for telling her, and she knew how hard it was for me to get over that. She volunteered to get us a paternity test right when he or she is born, which made me feel a lot better at first. But something still felt off. I honestly don't know why. Something about how she was so eager to get a paternity test, and almost not mad at me at all for having kept this from her. Normally, she would have been upset that I didn't bring it up right away, but there was just a weird feeling I couldn't shake for the rest of the day. It seemed like she was saying all the right things, but I couldn't get rid of this clawing feeling inside of my head. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Maybe there's a gut feeling that I need to listen to. But I ended up going to the appointment alone, as we decided it would be good to see if I still needed the surgery. Turns out it's obstructive azoospermia. I've read so many stories about people who were supposed to be infertile end up getting pregnant. So I brought that up, and how my wife's pregnancy was affecting me. The urologist thought it would be pretty unlikely that I wouldn't need surgery to have a kid with how mine was presenting itself. He mainly tried to skirt around the topic, and mostly pushed me towards making sure she was actually pregnant. Being there didn't really help. I feel like I just got more uncertainty. She had another night being out to 8:30 last night. We talked about scheduling an appointment to verify the pregnancy when she got home. She seemed a little confused, but then quickly agreed. She promised to do it in the morning. I asked how work had gone, and she gave me a kind of non-committal answer about her boss pushing her too much and being stressed out. There's nothing huge there, but she just seemed off. I really couldn't put my finger on it. We were still acting all lovey-dovey, but something just felt wrong, and I couldn't talk about it without repeating the same conversation we had Sunday. I've been trying to throw myself into work to distract myself, but I haven't been able to focus. We have a joint checking account that will sometimes move money in and out of, but really only use it for groceries or household items, unless we talk about it beforehand. This morning, she moved half of it to hers, about $1,700. We don't do that. She's never needed to before. And I checked our healthcare portal, and she made the appointment for the one-time Thursday that I mentioned I was busy working on site. We were supposed to go together. I'm starting to go crazy. How do I bring this up that isn't just me having the same conversation again? I'm looking into getting a second opinion for myself, but I need a litmus test from objective outsiders to know if I'm really losing it, or if this seems weird to someone else. Update. I've been trying to center myself. We talked calmly for a bit on the phone. She claimed she moved the money out in anticipation for the deductible payments that she'll have with different visits. I didn't bring up anything else, but she seemed a little impatient with me. Probably rightly so, and implied we'd have a longer talk when she gets home. I'm trying to not overreact right now. I don't know what to think. This is either a misunderstanding on my side and I'm a father, or not. Thankfully, she's not working late today. Thank you those who are trying to keep me grounded. Updates. I went for a long run to clear my mind. Got a shower, and then my wife should be home. I'm going to go into the conversation with no judgment, just objectively walk out the facts and why I've still been struggling personally with some of them. Regardless of what happens, I'm done with any confusion left between us. Thanks to those who messaged me and gave me advice. There is a paternity test called Non-Invasive Prenatal Paternity, NIP, that can check paternity before the baby is born. It includes taking your wife's blood, fetal DNA can be separated and tested, and your blood. She can get her blood taken first, and then you could go a little later. You don't have to have it done at the same time. I only thought of this because it cost around $1,700 to get it done. This is what I thought of. That they could get the NIP test now, and maybe she moved the money for the test. But it's suspicious she's not telling him and booking an appointment without his involvement. It's stacking up against her favor. I hate to be that optimistic person because things are starting to look bad here, but what if that time slot was the only one the doctors had? Booking within a week at my OB, if it wasn't an emergency, was basically impossible. The moving money is scary though. Maybe she wants to get the paternity test out of the way since her husband is acting weird. I hope this guy has a good outcome. The trouble is that she's not communicating any of this to him. There is no way I would not tell my husband if I needed $1,700 for something, unless I was trying to hide something, as well as scheduling an appointment that we both were to go to together. As soon as I made the appointment, I would have told him. Sad to say, this isn't looking good, but I too hope this has a better outcome than what it looks like. Quote, "This morning she moved half of it to hers, about $1,700. We don't do that. She's never needed to before. Everything else could just be your own anxiety, but this is something concrete. What's confusing to me is why you were stressing about bringing this up without being the same conversation when the money thing is clearly a different conversation. How come you've moved half of the joint account to your own account? A perfectly simple question that should have a perfectly simple answer, and there is zero reason not to just ask that question. Edit, as this blew up, another question, namely, why not tell you about it beforehand? Because she must know that you'd notice it, and she must know that you'd have some questions. This isn't a few dollars going missing, it's half the account, which is suspiciously precise, and surely significant that she'd move it. Knowing you'd spot it, but not give you a heads up regardless, knowing you'd wonder what was up. You got any sick time? Call in sick the day of the appointment and go anyway. She technically already kind of agreed to go together, so make it so. She can't argue with that. I wouldn't want to surprise her, but I think I might wait until she's home and mention that I can take off and see what she says. Solid plan. Honestly, I hope it ends up being just a misunderstanding for your sake, but it's better to be sure, and it's not as though you were being unreasonable. Thank you. I'm trying to get all my uncertainty out here to make sure I don't act just on fear. I'm a little uneasy how popular the post got though, even though she rarely uses Reddit. I'll probably have to take this down eventually. Don't say, I can take off. Say, I took off, you scheduled it during the time I mentioned I was busy. No big deal, you probably forgot. You did mention you were stressed. I'll be able to be there with you like we wanted. Then watch how she takes what should be an act of kindness. If she stammers, stutters, or tries to backtrack, you have your answer. I mean, what pregnant wife would be so against her husband taking off to accompany them to a doctor's appointment? One who is hiding something. Happy update. I'm sorry to drag y'all through the worst of my insecurities. I definitely channeled quite a bit of my negative crap into whatever I posted. But hey, that's what anonymous people are good for sometimes, I guess. Anyways, we finally sat down after she got home last night. I told her everything that was going on. The urologist, the money, the upcoming appointments. I told her how, even with all her reassurances, too many suspect things kept happening. She agreed how everything looked and immediately apologized. She didn't realize how much my last ex's cheating was still affecting me. She knew I was off going into the weekend, but thought we addressed that. We talked about it Sunday, but I can get pretty internal with all these worries and not show them outwardly. And so while she had thought we were communicating, I wasn't. We decided to start from the beginning and go through everything together. The money was the real problem for me. She agreed with how inconsiderate it was with where my head was at to do that without mentioning it. Apparently, the prenatal visits are so structured that they want you to set up a payment plan with them right away, and she wanted to make sure it was squared away to keep the appointment. She offered, without me prompting, to call them with me tomorrow to verify that, or if I really wanted, we could move the money back. She does get better rewards out of hers, so it kind of makes sense. We read up on obstructive azoospermia, and it doesn't seem like they're often invincible force fields. It seems like the only actual absence of the vas deferens CBAVD, actually guarantees complete infertility, so it is possible for some to get through. We are going to go back to the original specialist I was working with last year and hopefully get a clearer picture. It turns out the appointment she made was the only time they had available so soon, and figured it'd be best not to wait. I told her I took off work to go with, and she was relieved I could join. Once again, she said all the right things and seems genuine about getting us on the same page. After going through each thing, I was just wishing I believed her a little more before. She's stressed out with work and when she'll have to take off, but she really seemed to want to go out of her way to alleviate my concerns. She even offered an open phone policy if I needed. We did look at that text I had seen, and it was just a girlfriend. I declined though right now, since I don't want to be that husband. This has really made me take a deeper look at what's in my past and how that still affects me today. Even thinking back to this weekend, it was so hard to see in the moment how much all the uncertainty was affecting me. That level of anxiety literally makes you question what around you is real. I think the trust but verify is the best way to put it. I was just trying to verify without any of the trust at all. This has all put a strain on our marriage right now, but I'm feeling a bit more like we're a team again, working towards easing that. She thought that an NIPP ASAP was a great idea, as long as we also get some kind of counseling together. I'm not big on therapy, but I can probably agree that it will most likely help. I'm feeling a little better about everything. Thanks again to everyone who reached out and shared their own story. Every other comment here I read was a story of a family member who was supposed to be barren and ended up popping out triplets. And most of all, those who helped me try to communicate fairly through all of this. It's time for me to hopefully be a father. Updates: the paternity test came back initially positive for anyone that's going to see this. Smiley face. Trailmix says, "Dude, therapy can be a great way to work through things in a safe environment. I know you're not big on therapy, but it won't be like you see on TV. It's a place where you can talk with someone who knows what they are doing and they can help you work through these problems. Depending on what kind of therapy you do, they can even provide you with practical tools you can use in the moments when you are feeling that anxiety to help alleviate it. Cognitive behavioral therapy, my favorite CBT, is probably the most common type of therapy for anxiety, and it will absolutely give you tools to use in the moment. Consider a therapist that specializes in that. Acceptance and commitment therapy is also an excellent choice if it works with you, and I find the less structured method of it much more accommodating for most people. Another thing to consider, as I know it's big among a lot of the male population, going to therapy doesn't mean you are less of a man or masculine in any way. It's like getting a financial advisor, except that they help with things like emotions and mental things rather than your money." Source: licensed MSW. Posted by user ThrowRA I don't know what to say. Titled, "I, 23 female, am days away from giving birth, and my 37 male boyfriend just decided to tell me that he can't be at the birth because he's married." So first off, I know the age gap probably should have been a red flag, but I was stupid. We've been together for 2 years, but he lives in a different city. When I got pregnant, he said he was going to move to my city and we would move in together. He just needs to finalize some things with his ex-wife. He told me he was divorced when we met and I never had any reason to question it. I knew that he had 2 kids with her as well, and he told me the truth about that. Just not that he wasn't divorced or even separated. So fast forward, I'm 39 weeks and he suddenly got uncommunicative, which is less than ideal when you're literally about to give birth. Bear in mind that he was supposed to have been fully moved in here a month ago. He blamed the pandemic. Today I found out I am going to be induced on Monday unless baby decides to come out over the weekend. So I contacted him and I was like, "Okay, what's going on?" And that's when he told me that he isn't actually separated or divorced. He never told his wife about anything, and now he felt like he was backed into a corner. I don't feel sorry for him for that, because that's his own fault. But obviously, literally 4 days before giving birth isn't the time you want to get this news, and I have no idea what to do now. Tell him to F off, obviously, but what else? I feel like, I can take care of the baby, but I was preparing to have a partner to take care of it with me, you know? I don't even know what I'm asking for in terms of advice, but any advice moving forward and handling this is appreciated. It's Thursday. You've got time to contact a lawyer before the birth. Can you do that today or tomorrow? Best wishes. I'm literally calling around now. I can't thank you guys enough. Just jumping into 1, encourage you, and say he's an a-hole, which I know you know now, but what a total betrayal. 2, give yourself time to grieve later. Right now, your baby needs you focused and healthy, but when you grieve, come here and grieve it all. The loss of expectations, the heartache, the whole thing. Then post about how great your baby smells. Noobs smell so damn good, and bask in that too. In other words, give yourself space and time. Go feel all ranges of emotions. That's normal postpartum anyways. 3, don't contact the wife, or the father. Focus on you and the baby. Be selfish about that. Leave everything else to the lawyer, and remember, even that takes a long time. 4, you can't put him on the birth certificate if you aren't married and he's not there. He will be sued for child support, as he should be, and the cost of the birth. Keep all receipts and all documentation of texts, etc. Don't sweat visitation issues right now. This won't get in front of a judge for months, if not longer. No contact outside of the lawyer, period. It's not that he doesn't have a right to be a part of the child's life. He does, like it or not, but that it needs to be a legal matter only. Sounds like he will have his hands full with his wife too, and that is definitely not your circus or monkeys. Sending all kinds of love and support, post as much as you need, and know that you are doing the right thing getting a lawyer now versus later. That lets you have the space to prioritize your and your baby's health. Don't worry about his wife right now. Worry about having a safe pregnancy. Do not delete any texts or emails from him, since they may eventually help you in court. Once you've obtained an attorney, you can figure out how you'll get child support. OP, lawyer here. Do not take it upon yourself to tell his wife or start anything that might be later deemed drama. Yes, I'm aware it's easy for me to say this laying here on my couch compared to what you're going through. Find a family lawyer immediately upon returning from the hospital. Do exactly as they say, and good luck in this crappy situation. Speak to a family law attorney before you birth, and especially talk to one before you put his name on the birth certificate. If you do that, it means you give him parental rights, and in some states, men will automatically get 50-50 legal custody, and depending on the location, 50-50 physical. Some states won't give them crap though. You can always add his name later. If the hospital will let you wait to file the birth certificate, do it. Ask them for the written policy that states that you have to do it before you leave. It gives you time to speak to an attorney. If you know you want him in the baby's life and want to deal with him for the next 20 plus years, then put his name on it and play that card. Then file for support immediately, but be prepared to potentially share some form of custody with him. Depending on the state, it can be hard to take away. Avo.com is a good resource to ask questions. If you happen to be in CA or MD, I might be able to answer some questions for you. But child custody laws are state dependent. I can certainly point you to free resources for those states. I agree with others. Don't tell the wife. Don't tell him. Just do this legally and let the court tell him. Legally protect yourself and the baby. F that piece of crap who calls himself a man. Mourn the loss of the partner that you thought you had, but know that women are strong AF, and you can raise this baby on your own and it will be amazing. You will be fine, mama. Remember, there are tons of women who have cake before you and raised their children alone. You are strong. Edits. Thank you all. It seems like getting legal help is priority number 1. I'm just in shock right now. Like, I almost feel numb, but I really appreciate everyone here for your help. I was really happy and looking forward to a baby, and I just feel really sad right now, so I need to take a breather. Everything is ready for the baby, and I'm still excited to meet them, but Jesus. Edit number 2, in bold this time. In addition to all kinds of weird comments, I'm getting all kinds of weird PMs, so I think I need to just take a deep breath, walk away, mindlessly binge watch something stupid for a while, and cry my face off tonight. I called around to a few family lawyers in my area, and the advice I got from posting here has been absolutely brilliant. But I'm running out of the sass and steam to deal with anything else that's happening here, so I'm just going to check out. I'm going to leave the legal business to the lawyers, praise that he didn't give me false information and I can actually find him, and try to remember how much I was looking forward to being a mum before all of this happened. I don't really care if people think it's fake or whatever, because I gained exactly nothing, aside from the advice that I needed, from making this post, and I gained exactly nothing from arguing. To everyone who shared their stories with me, thank you so much. You feel like the dumbest effing person in the world when this happens to you, and knowing it happens to people all the time is a weird comfort, even when you wouldn't wish it on anybody. I don't think of myself as a trash or generally stupid person, just a person who was blinded by love and naivety and has learned a really hard lesson a really hard way. I doubt anything of monumental concern will happen between now and my Monday induction. But once baby is here, I will try to come back and let people know what's happening. Update. First things first, I had my healthy baby girl on Monday evening. We were discharged shortly after birth due to the pandemic, so I've just been trying to adjust to everything. Her birth was a dream, and I never want to do it again, lol. Second, I talked to his wife for over an hour yesterday. I guess he decided to tell her. She wasn't mad at me, thank God. She'd had her suspicions, but was trying to trust her husband, which I understand. She was so nice, honestly, and even though she isn't angry at me, I still feel bad because she's such a nice lady. She wanted to make sure I was doing okay and that I didn't need anything, which made me cry because postpartum hormones are whack. She's getting a divorce from him. Good for her, to be honest. We are planning to meet up and talk crap about him once the virus is over. I have a lawyer and will establish custody and child support legally ASAP. He hasn't bothered to contact me at all, but I don't particularly care. I didn't want to leave anyone hanging, even though it's not a huge update. Thank you to everyone who checked in. It means a lot. The wife sounds like an amazing and understanding human being. Hopefully you have been gifted with an amazing friend after this, if anything. I really hope OP and the wife form a friendship and can be there for each other. It's wonderful that his wife places the blame squarely where it belongs, on her husband, and is reaching out to OP. That's the kind of compassion and love we need in this sorry world. Good on y'all for kicking his ass out and giving him what he deserved. I didn't see the original post, but congrats on your baby girl, and I hope you have a great future. So glad you're doing okay and the birth went well. That's also awesome the wife and you have become friends and she is kicking him to the curb. It sounds like he's getting what he deserves. Good luck on your future with your new baby girl. I have a friend who was married to a cheater. She eventually befriended the mistress who became wife number 2. Then he cheated on 2 and they got divorced. When he married the new mistress, friend and number 2 came together as each other's dates and danced the whole night, laughing. The point is, this too shall pass. Keep your head up and try to be kind to each other because your baby has a half-sibling she may want to know someday. Good luck. Also, F that guy. Posted by user throwaway03044. Titled, I think my girlfriend of 4 years is going to leave me for her dying ex-boyfriend and first love. I saw their messages last week and I haven't been the same since. I borrowed her old iPad for work purposes and her Facebook account was still logged into the device. I was going to log in on my messenger because I forgot my phone at home and I was going to message her, but then I saw that she had messages from her ex-boyfriend. Let's call him Andre. Her and Andre dated for 2 years. They were each other's first love and she never told me what happened between them. I met her a year and some months after they broke up when I went on a trip with my family to California. I don't know anything about him other than the fact that they dated sometime in high school and college. When I met her, we instantly hit it off. She showed me around LA, and me living in Australia wasn't a problem. We were in a long-distance relationship for a year until I saved up enough money to move out of my country for her. Other than that, it took me months to look for a job in Los Angeles so that I would be financially secure when I got there. 3 years later, we're still going strong. Or so I thought. When I clicked on their conversation out of curiosity, I immediately noticed the kiss and heart emojis. Right then, I knew what was happening. I don't want to go on about details, but the only message that stood out was her talking about leaving me for a few months so that she could take care of him. He has cancer. It's at stage 1, but reckons he's going to die. On one of his messages to her, he asked if she would visit him in his house. And I'm pretty sure she did, because they mentioned how they had a great time together and that it was good to catch up. Well, it's been a week since I found out. She doesn't know that I know, or that I took her old iPad out of its box, and that I had spent 2 days reading their messages. She has no idea at all. She thinks everything is okay between us, but I actually want to cry for a long time, and that I want to physically hurt myself. I have no friends in LA. All of them are back home, and they're all living their own lives now. I don't want to talk about it to anyone because thinking too deeply about it hurts. I guess when it all comes down to it, she never really loved me, and I'm still trying to accept that. I don't know how to approach this. I have written my resignation letter for work, and I have messaged my parents that I was going to go home sometime next month. I did both when I was extremely upset. I just need advice on how to approach this. I don't want to talk to her about it at all. I can't even look her in the eye without wanting to break down. Please help me on what to do and how to approach it correctly. As of now, I'm thinking of leaving while she's at work. I understand that this is a tough situation, but if she is thinking of leaving you for this guy, cancer or no, I think it shows you where her priorities lie. If you want to give her a chance to explain and try to fix things, that is 100% your call. But I personally don't know that I would feel confident in that relationship again after seeing that. I wouldn't ghost in this case, but even just a note about what you found would be sufficient if you feel that is the best way to handle it. Just be prepared that if you do cut it off with her, that she will be with this guy within a week. But I have a feeling that that was going to happen sooner or later, to be honest. I personally think in any relationship, you should prioritize your self-respect and dignity first. She could have told you and met him as a friend, which would be understandable, but this is cheating no matter what disease he has. She can't just go around hurting other people because her ex is sick. Leave her and tell her why. You don't deserve this after investing what you did into the relationship. Personally, I'd check out too. If you already have the closure you need, there's no real reason to stick around and explain yourself. Leave a note. Better yet, leave the iPad on the charger with no lock timer. Leave that message open on it and walk away. She has already checked out, clearly. It's time for you to move on and be happy. Wishing you the best of luck. Thank you. We're going to talk when she comes home, and after that, I'm sorting things out with my employer. I don't mean to minimize his condition, but stage 1 cancer is highly treatable. I think he's pulling a quick one here. The dying victim that somehow survived, and so they meant to be together. Your girl has some loose ethics and moral values. I think deep inside her, she kind of felt like she wanted to go back to him. Also, women are extremely compassionate to people who are in disadvantaged situations. It's the charm that steals their heart. You need to be straight and bring it up. Explain to her that, although you understand, you can't stay in this situation because it will ruin you. If she can't see that, then she is not worth your time. She's coming home from work now. I'm a lot calmer than before, and I've messaged her exactly what you said. She wants to talk to me in person, and I'm just waiting now. That's also what I thought, but I'm almost certain he said that he didn't want to go through treatment, which doesn't make sense because he managed to convince her to come back to him. I don't know what he wants, but he seems like a pretty dumb piece of crap. Update. I finally talked to my girlfriend about it, and unfortunately, she is now my ex-girlfriend. A lot of things that I never expected to happen did happen in a span of hours. As soon as she opened the door to our apartment, I could tell that she was already starting to cry. Seeing her so vulnerable like that also hurt because I didn't want to put her in that position. I had to constantly remind myself that none of this was my fault. We sat down, there were lots of tears. I thought I would be bitter, angry, and that I would be screaming at her the whole time, but I felt disappointed instead. I told her that I saw the messages and explained how I ended up scrolling through their whole conversation. She kept reasoning that she just felt sorry for him, and that she didn't know how to say no to him because they go all the way back. Then I told her that we go more way back than they ever did. I was there through her lowest points. I helped her get up. She admitted that they had had sex more than 3 times. I saw it coming. I had a gut feeling, but hearing her confirm it hurt so much. At that point, I was full-on crying. I can't remember some of the things that happened because my mind was all over the place. It still is now. I remember telling her that I was done, that whatever we had was over. She kneeled in front of me and asked me to forgive her. I don't think I ever will. I can't tolerate people who cheat. By that point, 1/3 of my clothes were packed up. Obviously, she feels happier with him if she can do this to me. When I posted my first post, a Redditor approached me and offered me a place to stay. His place was only around 15 minutes away from ours, and he picked me up. He'll also help me sell a lot of my stuff that I can't bring back home, and will help me gather all my things back in my apartment. We both agreed that I don't mention him in this post. I'm glad that I really opened up to this community instead of keeping it to myself. Thank you to everyone who also offered me a place. It's almost 3 a.m. I'm heartbroken as ever, but I'm trying my best. I'm sending my resignation letter to work this morning. Every person in my family now knows my situation here and have offered support. I'll be flying home as soon as possible. To all my Aussie mates, if you live near or around Chapel Hill, let me know. America, you were great, but now it's time to come home. Thanks for the help, everyone. Edits. I'm crying again, not because I got cheated on, but because I realized that there is a whole world out there that cares a lot for my well-being. I almost can't believe I looked at hurting myself as an option to get away from the pain. I am really overwhelmed and also thankful for this community. Anthony and his wife, the Redditor who helped me, says that this has been the most wholesome thing that ever happened to him. I may have lost a girlfriend and a future wife, but I gained heaps of friends, and even friends for a lifetime. Other than that, I am feeling better. It still feels surreal that she's gone, but what can a bloke do? She made her choice, so I made mine. I woke up to multiple messages from her family saying that I shouldn't rush things, and that she's stupid and makes mistakes like everyone else. It sucks that I may not be able to see her family for a long time. They were great people. I thanked them and said that although I believe in second chances and everyone makes mistakes, cheating is a choice that a-holes pick, never a mistake. X also emailed me around 5 in the morning. The email was too long. My eyes hurt from crying, so I junked it straight away. I miss her like crazy. I know it will take a lot of time to heal me, but I guess I can wait. Posted by user ThrowRA Shared Moment. Titled, My wife, while drunk, confessed she only married me as a last resort. She then goes on to say, I wanted to get with Ty, my friend. which made things awkward as my family were playing. Her sister shut her up and played it off as a joke. Not even sure how to take this, but I've always suspected she never genuinely loved me. How do I even begin to confront her about this? Not gonna divorce her. When I made the topic, I was drunk still. When I drink, I get depressed. Deep down, I'm insecure and depressive. It's magnified when I'm drunk. Gonna be a few before I update. She's still passed out and she's gonna be seriously hungover. I should say that I'm certain it was truthful, but taken out of context of a drunken wife. If she really does harbor resentment and felt trapped, that'd come as a real surprise. In the 5 years of marriage and 3 years of dating, we've meshed so well. We even started a family together. It'd just be weird and out of character. Of course, we for sure need to talk like mature adults. I'm not going to end this over a drunken rant. And someone replies, some truths. Your wife told the truth. Her sister already knew this and has known forever. Having kids does not equal love. If anything, it proves that she rushed into marriage because the train was leaving, and forming a family is the societal expectation. You are already trying to convince yourself that this was just a drunken lie. Whatever your wife gives as an excuse, you will believe. It's easier than accepting the truth. You have low self-esteem and would accept her lies out of fear. I'm sorry you are going through this. I truly am. But lying to yourself will only postpone the divorce for a few years. That's absolutely awful. I'm so sorry. Quote, how do I even begin to confront her about this? End quote. Do you even want to stay in this marriage after that? No, but I need to be sure. It seems you're already very sure. You're just looking to go from 99% to 100% sure. Problem is, that will depend on getting her to come clean, and she isn't likely to do that. Getting that last 1% is not going to be worth the trouble it's going to cause. And by isn't likely, I mean there's no frickin' way. Last resort means you're the security and stability. She's not giving that up. See a lawyer, let her know her last resort is going to find someone who considers you their first choice. I'm not sure. I was drunk. Very drunk. When I get drunk, I get depressed, and anything anyone says, I magnify it as a bad thing. I for sure will talk, but it would be very weird if she didn't love me, considering she's had kids with me. Of course, Reddit's gonna Reddit and claim they know more than I do, but I would be very surprised if she didn't genuinely love me. I know our relationship didn't start off as love at first sight. She wasn't interested in me at first. I think if I were in your situation, I'd talk to a lawyer and file for divorce. No questions asked, none needed. She and her sister expressed that this was very real and very much known by at least one other person. I would be beyond heartbroken. But the first step to fixing something that is broken is to step back. Remove yourself from the situation that broke it and analyze. The love I give isn't reciprocated the same way. It's not just her that knows that. I deserve to be loved and wanted, not a last resort. Will staying in this marriage knowing these facts make me happy? If not, then the solution, while difficult, is obvious. It's not easy, but even try a flowchart. Something like starting at the fact that you were her last resort, and branch off to how you should react, like upset or angry or happy you know. If upset, what about it makes you upset? It's going to seem stupid, obvious, and like a waste of time. But it's going to let you map out your emotions and actions and determine what you need to do. People saying divorce. Are you crazy? I haven't even talked to her about it, and you want me to divorce her instantly, no questions asked? We were all drunk. When I drink, I get doom and gloom. She's still passed out. Dude, your wife told you she didn't love you and only married you as a second choice. Then she said she wanted your friend more than you, and her sister had to step in. She doesn't love you, homie. You deserve someone who does. She is going to lie to you because you are a safety net for her. Rip the band-aid off and tell her you want a separation. Update. There's a lesson to be learned. Poor communication plus insecurity plus alcohol equals bad time. I confronted her about this and let it off my chest. I'm insecure and depressed. She knows and she's accepted me for that, and I do my best to improve. She was the only person to ever see who I truly was beneath all my bluster. She was straight up honest, even though she knew it would hurt. I wasn't her first choice, and was more like a last choice. She thought I knew, but it's clear I didn't. She met Ty before I did. She was young, lonely, and miserable. She was tired of men breaking her heart, and was convinced she'd be alone forever. She'd swear off men. Anyway, she liked Ty, but Ty didn't even acknowledge she existed, no matter how hard she tried. While chasing Ty, she met me, since Ty and I were best friends back then. Since Ty never humored her, and never once even noticed her feelings, she settled for me. She asked me out for drinks, and she realized we had a ton of chemistry. But she quickly realized she had made the right choice, and fell deeply in love with me. She typically doesn't tell the full story because it's private, and people really don't need to know the details. She told me she feels ashamed she wasted time chasing after Ty, and ignored the fact that I was right in front of her. She wasted a lot of time chasing after a man who didn't even notice she existed. And it's not like she knew anything about him. She really didn't know anything about him. She was only lusting after him. She has only ever told her sister. Her sister reacted the way she did, mostly because she really knows this is sort of a private thing. Most of my family assume it was a love at first sight thing. It's awkward as hell to just blurt that out. Could she be lying? I believe her. If I can't believe her, then I can't believe anyone. Her story adds up to what I remember. She's been with me the entire time. We have 2 kids now, a family. I really don't want to start doubting our relationship. But I'll be honest, and did doubt it when she told me. It's that negativity that comes up. My side was, I met her while she was still crushing on Ty. She was a co-worker. I thought she was cute, but she didn't really have any interest in me, and I didn't feel like making a move. Ty thought she was unattractive and annoying. He never humored her. Eventually, she stopped chasing him and started talking to me. She asked me out to drinks one day, and we realized we had a lot in common, and we had a ton of chemistry together. The rest was history. Could she be cheating? Now that I doubt, as she and Ty don't get along, and not to be rude, but Ty is married, and the years were not kind to Ty. As for suspecting she doesn't love me, I was drunk, and when I drink, my insecure, depressive self comes out. I don't think rationally. Do I believe she doesn't? No, but it's difficult not to think it because I'm insecure and depressed. It's always that voice at the back saying, she hates you, your kids hate you, everyone hates you, but only tolerates you. It's toxic, but it's something I do wish to change, and she's done a lot to help me. To me, that sounds like a plausible story. We all do stupid crap, and some of us chase after the wrong person. But still, I can understand how hurtful this type of thing can be. On the other hand, it doesn't sound like you were the last resort either. Maybe at that specific time when you first met, but she did fall for you, didn't she? You should definitely work on your mental issues, and if you're already doing it, keep doing it. Only good can come of it. She was young and depressed. I seriously doubt she'd swear off guys forever. And I've been trying. It's difficult. She sees me for who I am and loves me for it. She's done a lot to help me when I'm down. Matthews 95 says, "Look, a partner can only do so much for your mental health. I've dated girls who had self-esteem and anxiety issues, and they didn't want to see a professional for it. It was draining only supporting the girl and not being supported in return. I'd suggest you look for a permanent solution to your mental issues so you can be your best self, both for your sake and your wife's sake." What I read here is this. She saw Ty and wanted him. He didn't want her. Then you two got to know each other. It wasn't love at first sight, as it rarely is, but the more she learned to know you, the more she fell in love with you, which is wonderful. To be honest, that sounds a hell of a lot different than your first post. Just as well as that you were the last resort is not right. You just weren't love at first sight, but she still fell in love with you, just like you fell in love with her. I was one of those who told you to separate for some time after I saw your first post. Now I think that you two just need to be more open to each other. Getting rid of your insecurities also means that you allow her to be more open to you without fear of judging how she feels about a certain something. I doubt that she is cheating or that she's only with you because you're convenient. She just learned that you have qualities that are not visible on the outside, and she values you for that. I somehow doubt that you already realize how much that is worth. You aren't her last resort. You were just the last man who she dated, since she then made a decision for a life for you. No more need to date. Good luck and stay strong. Absolutely. She was just lusting after Ty, but never knew anything about him. She said she fell for him because he was nice to her and helped show her the ropes at work. Once they got to know each other, which was long after we were dating, she realized that they had nothing even remotely in common, and it was beyond stupid to ever chase him. They weren't compatible. One of the reasons she and I had such chemistry was I was the only one who understood her, and vice versa. She was lonely and had been for all her life. She never really had friends. Her sister was always busy with friends and her parents working. Deep down, she too suffers from being insecure and depressed. Every relationship she ever had failed miserably. Either they cheated on her or only used her for sex. We kinda just connected from the first date. Posted by user ThrowRA183942. Titled, My boyfriend keeps trying to guilt me into sex. Send help. My boyfriend and I have been dating for just a few days over a month. We talked and hung out for several weeks before making it official because I wanted to be sure that we're compatible before jumping into anything. So all in all, we've known each other for about 2 months. We're about the same age, both early 20s, and I'm about a year older than him. Generally, we have a good relationship. We have a lot of the same interests and get along well and don't fight or anything. Worst issues we have is petty things like forgetting to put the toilet seat down. Except lately, he's been harassing me for sex. When we first met, we had the whole conversation about what do you want from life, do you want kids, what are your political stances, etc. All the major things that you can't agree to disagree on. At this point, I told him that I'd been sexually assaulted in the past and didn't like being touched in certain areas or being treated certain ways, and that I take things pretty slow and sex would be one thing I won't be having anytime soon, and would be something that happens when I feel the time is right and I'm ready. He started asking me about sex very early on into the relationship, and at that point, accepted when I told him I didn't want to or wasn't ready. He started asking me about sex very early on into the relationship, and at that point, accepted when I told him I didn't really want to or wasn't ready. Lately, he's started really pushing the matter, and bringing it up multiple times a day, and generally just whining about it. I still seriously listen to what he has to say, and have an actual conversation about it, but at this point, I'm losing my patience. I told him for the first time I love him just a few days ago, and last night he threw it back in my face. He threw a full-blown temper tantrum that I wouldn't have sex with him. Went on about how his ex waited months to have sex with him too, and then she ended up cheating anyways. I didn't really enjoy being compared to his ex. Told him I'm not his ex, and he then said he doesn't know how someone who loves him could not want to sleep with him. I tried really hard to be calm, because in my opinion, I think he has a lot of anxiety and trauma over past relationships, and that affects how he acts a lot. His last ex he was engaged to when she was cheating on him, and moved the new man into the house that he was paying for, so I can easily see how that would cause a lot of relationship trauma. He'll ask me to promise that I actually like him, and am not just using him, and other things like constantly acting like he's afraid I'm going to leave him. At this point, I'm exhausted, and I'm just sick of it all. I feel disrespected, and like my feelings don't even matter at this point. I'm all out of patience to treat his next tantrum calmly, and I have no idea how to handle things at this point. Does anyone have any advice? Break up with him. You both have incompatible baggage. There's nothing hotter than begging and harassing. Several times a day? Break up. You barely know the guy, but you know enough to see he's an immature, entitled jerk. Way too early in the relationship with way too many problems. Red flags all over the place. You verbalized your boundaries, he busted right through them. It's early. He's showing his true colors, take them at face value, and get out. This may sound rough, but I suggest giving him an ultimatum. Tell him to stop or dump him. I personally get a little too annoying with my girlfriend when I want sex, and if we do it, I just end up feeling guilty. I'm going to try that. Just tell him that if he brings up sex again, I'm going to dump him, and it'll happen on my terms. Update. So he's now my ex-boyfriend. I stuck with him for a couple more months, and it was apparent he had some pretty big issues. I told him he really needed to go to therapy because he had issues stemming from his last relationship. He agreed, but then not actually do anything. We had this conversation multiple times. It became obvious he had a general lack of respect for me. No matter how often or how much I gave him in the way of intimacy, it was never enough, and he was constantly guilting me into sex. At one point, I didn't want to do anything because I had just started a new job and worked a 10-hour closing shift, which was very stressful physically and mentally. I got home at like 2 a.m. and went straight to bed. Still cuddled and talked to him. And when I told him no, I didn't want to do anything sexual, he actually got up and started packing his bags to leave, and going on about how he can't take it. I talked him into staying, which was stupid. When something was wrong with his car, and I explained the proper way to fix it, I'm a mechanic and have several cars I've rebuilt, he got really mad that I told him the half-assed way he wanted to fix it was a bad idea, and he insulted me and generally ignored my expertise in the area and hung up on me. The breaking point came a few days after. I was talking about something political, and he told me he didn't really keep up with politics or bother with them at all. I tried to explain how politics affected me as a disabled person, and he pretty much just talked over me about how he doesn't care about politics. I tried to generally explain that being able to not care about politics is a privilege, and not everyone gets that. He was like, "Oh, here we go again." I was quiet for a while, and when he kept asking what was wrong, I explained how anytime I try to have a serious conversation, he talks over me, belittles me, and is generally rude and dismissive. I told him he needs to talk to me more respectfully. I guess he decided that was too much effort because he started packing his bags to leave. I didn't stop him this time, and we haven't spoken since. We both changed our relationship status to single, and he removed me from all social media. So we're done. At first I thought I would take him back if he made a serious effort to change, like going to therapy. But at this point, I've had a few weeks to think that I don't want him back no matter what, and I have no intentions of allowing him back into my life. I've started talking to someone new that I really like, and we have feelings for each other. We've actually been friends for a while already, and just started flirting back and forth recently, and confessed to liking each other. He treats me really well, and genuinely cares about me, and is really sweet and adorable. He's always been very respectful of me the entire time we've been friends, which means even more to me now. We are both obsessed with cars and have the same goals in life, and we just seem to get along great and really click. I feel like a kid all over again. I'm giddy and have butterflies. Despite all the crap my ex put me through, I have high hopes for the future. Thank you everyone for your advice, and I wish I would have listened sooner. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. As always, I want to do a huge shout out to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. You should be up on the screen now. I love you all, and I think every single one of you are amazing for supporting the channel in the way that you do. Again, thank you so much for supporting me. And again, if you did enjoy today's video, please do tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. All of your hot takes, opinions, whatever you think, really, whatever's going on in your life right now, I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Before I leave, I'd also like to announce that I'm going to start doing meme content again on the second channel. I know it's been a while, so click on the Markee head on the screen without the Australian flag behind him if you want to go see some memes. And as always, guys, have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.